Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We are coming in here to respond to your questions. We hope that we'll be able to answer all your questions that you sent to us. But if you still have more questions, please write in the comment section. I am Ngabuto Nicholas Mabena. Let's get straight to the questions that were sent to us. Comrade Bongile Ndlovu writes, how did Joshua Nkomo become Father Zimbabwe when he was called a dissident? He was actually not called a dissident, but the father of dissidents. The late Dr. Joshua Nkomo was called Father Zimbabwe because of his political work in Zimbabwe way before independence. He gained respect nationally, that is across Zimbabwe, uh, before the split of ZAPU in 1963. So Dr. Nkomo was recognized as the true father of our revolution in Zimbabwe. But of course, as we are saying, then the split that happened in 1963, where then later on ZAPU was presented as a regional party representing Matabeleland and the ZANU representing Mashonaland, where the strike was now fought along ethnic lines. But after the Unity Accord, we also saw the respect that was then granted again to Dr. Joshua Nkomo. We saw how he was celebrated when he passed on in 1999. Comrade Elik Nkomo is asking when Zimbabwe will receive helicopters from the States, United States. We don't know, Comrade, and I'm sure you are talking in reference of Zambia said to have received those helicopters from the United States. We will at some point talk about what is happening in Zambia. The military base, were told there's a military base, whether it is there now or has been built in Zambia, the United States military base. We stand opposed to such party. We'll elaborate in a separate discussion from this one. We might get hold of a comrade in Zambia to have this discussion so that we get clarity on what is happening in Zambia. Comrade Langton Kumalo, we recognize your question and I'm sure you are now answered. And Comrade Ngaza Mlox ask is about Bela Umahafafu. Well, everyone, Comrade, is been labeled CIO operative. I know that some people think that I work for the Zimbabwean intelligence. So everyone that is politically active, one or the other, is labeled an agent of the state. So some of us now, we do not get angry whenever such labels are made against us. But of course, they are agents. But then there are comrades that are honest, committed to the struggle, because the CIO tech is being used to pull down comrades so that they get frustrated. So some of us were used to this. We tackled this video based on the question that was asked by Ubaba Ugegana Ndlovu, Reverend Gegana Ndlovu. Anti mina sintoni umuntu omdala ngimbizi ngebizo nxa wangikhulisa. So he writes, Umfundisi Ugegana says, what do you think about what President Ramaphosa said at the United Nations about so-called sanctions in Zimbabwe? Reverend Ndlovu, sanctions must go. They are now used as a tool to cover failure. Every time we question service delivery or question on why ZANU-PF is failing to rebuild the economy, they throw at us the sanction book. So they are now using sanctions as a tool to hide their failure. As such, sanctions must go so that we can deal with the reality. To say ZANU-PF have failed, not because there are sanctions, but you have failed because we are corrupt. There's nepotism. You destroyed the economy through the neoliberal policies, the economic structure adjustment program that was introduced in 1991. We have not recovered from that. So we should not allow them to use the sanctions as a tool to hide their failure. So we must assist the ZANU-PF to ensure that sanctions are removed. Thanks for all of you that have joined this platform. I wasn't. I think there was something that was hiding your comments, so I couldn't see your comments, but I've cleared that one up. Comrade Musangarimi says, it's just the same old story, Zimbabweans, we are on our own. We are on our own, not necessarily on our own, but it is our responsibility to rebuild our economy in Zimbabwe. Others can assist, but the task of rebuilding the economy is ours. The task of electing a government of our choice. It's ours. Others can assist. SADC can assist. AU can assist, but it is our responsibility as Zimbabweans. So we cannot depend on others that they are going to resolve our political and economics problems or crises. They can give us the best they can do is to give us solidarity, but the task is really ours. Comrade Blessed said, why will you oppose? It's just clear highball. Puppets will always be puppets, like it or not, that's truth of the matter. Blessed, ZANU PF was established as a puppet organization in 1963. So you cannot, if you are a member of ZANU PF, call others puppets when you were created, or ZANU PF created to advance the interest of the imperialists in 1963 to curtail um, the influence of Soviet Union and Cuba in the rest of the continent. So you can then therefore not climb on a hilltop and claim to be holier. ZANU-PF was created as a puppet organization. Of course, like every puppet, it gets dumped. We saw how Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire was a puppet of Belgium, and the Americans was dumped, and how ZANU was dumped by their masters. You continue, Comrade Blessed, and say Zimbabweans call them educated, yet they are not so manipulated that they can't read the writing on the wall. I'm not sure what you are referring to. Comrade Dindlov says, Mapena, thanks for updates, Ziyabonga. We appreciate Comrade Dindlov. Comrade Erasmus Mozorori, thanks so much. Comrade Blessed says, never, Zimbabwe is not on its own. That one is a lie. The task of rebuilding our economy is us as Zimbabweans. We cannot outsource this task to someone else. Then President Ramaphosa spoke on the sidelines of the United Nations conference or summit in New York about the elections in Zimbabwe. The clip that I heard where he spoke saying every country has its own challenges. When I said in this channel that we are not going to have elections now based on the SADC observer mission report, some people then called me names, but that's the reality because the observer mission made its findings, and that report has not been processed by the SADC heads of states. And then, as correctly said by President Ramaphosa and also Comrade President Mbeki, that the report gets submitted to the chair of the organ in the within SADC, who then processes that report and they submit to the heads of state. It is the head of states that then discuss what that report means. Given on what, or based on what President Ramaphosa was saying, some of them, they note that indeed there were mistakes that were made, there were challenges that were made, and how then do we correct those mistakes or challenge or overcome those challenges. And what I liked mostly about what President Mbeki said was what we said in this YouTube channel, which some, of course, when we raised it, people called us names again. We said the only way to ensure that we have a free and fair elections in Zimbabwe, or at least in hold elections as per the SADC guidelines on holding democratic elections, is that we must establish a government of national unity. And President Mbeki did outline the process that was done in 2008 after the disputed 2008 elections, leading to the signing of the global political agreement on the 15th of September 2008. This is the arrangement that we need. But you cannot, and I want to emphasize this, you cannot start a program of going around the country saying you are consulting citizens on what to do as a result of a rigged election, and you think you are going to achieve a result. You will not. What a proper, if you are a true leader, and knowing that you have the support of the mass of the people, you now need to concentrate on the policy framework. And what is this policy framework? Uh, it's about ensuring that there is implementation of the SADC observer team recommendations, implementation or ensuring that the next elections are held under the Zimbabwe Constitution, under the SADC guidelines on holding democratic elections. This can only happen when there's the government of national unity. But if there's no government of national unity, we are going to be saying the same thing post 2028 elections. So President Ramaphosa and President Mbeki challenged us as Zimbabweans that we must find each other. We must work together as Zimbabweans. And it's important that particular what President Mbeki, that President Mnangagwa himself must put the interest of the people first, not his own personal interest. He narrated how he resigned in 2008, that is President Mbeki, that he had grounds of refusing to resign, but to put the interests of the people of South Africa first by stepping down as President of the Republic of South Africa. And he did not say President Mnangagwa must step down. The best that President Mnangagwa should do is to open up a genuine dialogue, not this polar thing that we see, a genuine dialogue, so that we have a government, an inclusive government, that will take us to the 2028 elections. This government must, amongst others, deal with the question of rebuilding the Zimbabwean economy, working towards holding free and fair elections that will be accepted to all of us as Zimbabweans. So we need this inclusive government, and it is President Mnangagwa who must play that key role. But if he can't, it means he's advancing his own personal interests, and it's clear that ZANU-PF will not be able to rebuild the Zimbabwean economy. Comrade Marvin Dube says, tell these Zanoids abahlabela puppets. No. You see, Comrade Marvin Dube, the challenge that we have had is that when the MDC, now Triple C, were accused of being puppets of the West, they could not respond, right? We ourselves as communists are not puppets of the West. So are able to respond to point out that no, you were the first puppets in 1963. But of course, the Triple C or MDC cannot point out this. This is why we as communists who are not scared to tell ZANU-PF that you were created as puppets, you were dumped. ZANU-PF was handed power by the Margaret Thatcher administration in 1980 because they didn't want Joshua Nkomo and ZAPU to come to power in 1980 because ZAPU was clear on the land question, whereas ZANU-PF in 1980 it only wanted political power. So yeah, Comrade Matthias Ziba says, Mr. Maben akulang ma-sanction eZimbabwe ibusela abantu bezanu batshontsha baze batshontshisise nempanado nepanado nezibhedlela. What I've said, Comrade Matias Ziwa, as I was responding to Reverend Gegana, is that sanctions are used as a tool. Because when we point at the exact thing that you are pointing, they then throw at us the sanctions book. So this is why we're saying, let sanctions go so that this book, sanctions book, is not thrown at us, and then we deal with the issues that are obtaining in Zimbabwe. Comrade Wanele Mpofu writes, ZANU-PF ngeke iziphume manje mabhena unless if kungaba lempi, that's the only answer to Zimbabwe. We do not think so. We do not think that we need to go to war. We think that we need to unite the people of Zimbabwe. We need to unite the rural communities. We need to unite the urbanites, whom as communists we refer as the working class. We need to build this unity. We need an alternative outside the ZANU-PF and the Triple C. We need a political leadership that is not driven by egos. We need a leadership that does not come up with these religious slogans. Because honestly, God loves us all. If you're a Christian or if you're a believer, you know that God loves us all. So you can't run a political campaign slogan, say God is in it, and not do political work on the ground. That becomes what we'll call it becomes something else, because it cannot be. It cannot be. You need a clear political slogan that will galvanize the people of Zimbabwe. So when you then say God is in it, you want to disarm others because the people are not supposed to question God. And if you question this to say, why are you saying God is in it, you will be thrown in the issue of faith. They will throw Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 at your face and say, you do not believe, you have no faith, you must have faith, and they keep on preaching to you about faith. You will not take power. You will not take power if you use such slogans. So you simply become an idealist, right? You do not need a leader who's driven by idealist views. That's not a leader that Zimbabwe needs at this juncture or at any other epoch. You need a leader that understands clearly, who's guided by a clear political program on what must happen. But the moment you become an idealist and say, God is in it, anyone who questions you then say, no, you don't believe. And then they will ask you, what happened to your faith and so forth. And I see some tweets saying, have faith, the people of Zimbabwe. We do not need faith in Zimbabwe, right? We do not need faith. What we need in Zimbabwe is for us to unite, right? To unite as the people of Zimbabwe, irrespective of our different origins, our different ethnic groupings. We need to unite around a common agenda. And this common agenda is that we must build a national democratic economy. We must produce a blueprint on how we need to build a national democratic economy. It has got no relation to faith. That's where we seem to be missing it, because we're now being driven into idealism, into the world of idealism. Yeah, of course. Okay, Comrade Marvin Dewey, we're getting to our last two questions, 20, in about 20 minutes now. Triple C and ZANU do politics of the stomach. We are very far from achieving anything. Reject the whole election, not part of the results. Too much hunger in our politics. True. Because Comrade Marvin Dube, how do you say where you won it's okay. It should not be. We should not have a rerun, but have a rerun where you lost or only for the presidency. That's not it. It doesn't cut for me. So that is comrade. So what Zimbabwe needs is for us to unite. Others can give us solidarity. We cannot place our hopes on SADC. That SADC is going to instruct Zimbabwe to hold the elections in less than 6 months. It is not going to happen. And we said this from day one, that is not going to happen. I remember I did an interview with Tuso Kumalo. I said we were preparing for the 2028 elections. He looked surprised. Said 2028. I said yes, because that's unless something happens. But the elections are due in 5 years' time. So it's us. So what we need is for us to unite as Zimbabweans, is for us to agree in terms of the nature of the crisis in Zimbabwe. What we have in Zimbabwe is the looting class. As we said the other day on TV, I saw the clip which we did on ENCA, who has been circulating widely on a number of chat platforms. We're clear, we're saying, where the African National Congress misses it is that while we agree with them on the anti-imperialist struggle, but they are missing the point that there exists in Zimbabwe the looting class that has caused all this suffering. If you look at these so-called prophets, I saw one of them in a video offloading some US dollars. So it's a looting class. The prophets of some of these churches, I know that comrades that follow this channel go to those churches, but how does a prophet of God, if Jesus Christ challenged the status quo, and Jesus Christ was advancing the interest of the poor, if you go back to where he is said to have been born in a poor community, aspiring, and you now have a person who says they are walking on the footsteps of Jesus Christ, but being used as a conduit for smuggling our minerals. That surely a whole prophet of God, right? Whole prophet of God, smuggling our minerals, recorded by Al Jazeera. Jesus Christ was feeding the poor. You are taking from the poor. It cannot be correct. So we need to be frank with ourselves that we should not be, I will talk about the other time when I wanted to talk about churches, some churches, they were saying, no, don't question a man of God. But you can't have a whole man of God smuggling gold. A whole man of God, what do they call him, Java, displaying his wealth. I don't know. Comrade Give Mochiko, you are the last one. How can we unite without unfaith? I don't understand. Or unite without faith. Comrade Give More Chikuwanza. We do not need faith in Zimbabwe. Because when you say we need faith, Support has started. I'm sure comrades from the SDA, they will be taking me to task. But let me explain this, right? When you are saying we must have faith, you are saying we must leave everything unto God, right? We do nothing ourselves. We just wait at a bus stop and wait for God to give us a new leadership, a leadership that will love all of us, a leadership that will take care of us. That's basically what it means. That we must wait at a bus stop, right? And leave everything unto Him. That's not what we need. What we need is to agree that in Zimbabwe we are up against the looting class. And the only way to defeat the looting class is for us as the working class and the peasantry to unite, have one political formation that represents our interest, go to an election and defeat the looting class in an election. This is what we need to do. So, comrades, thank you so much. Thanks, comrade, brother Rizin and Lina Dube said that SADC is going to help us with these sham elections. Lina Dube, SADC will not. They will simple, like what President Ramaphosa said, what President Mbeki said on the sidelines of the UN. They will simply talk about us trying to come together to say these are the recommendations. Can you ensure that in the next election these things are not repeated? Otherwise, comrades, you have a long weekend. Enjoy your long weekend. If you are in South Africa, Monday is a holiday because Sunday is a holiday. So Monday is a holiday. But if you are in another country, it is not a long weekend for you. I am Mabuto Nicholas Mapena. Please like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Happy Heritage Day for those that are in South Africa. Goodbye.